live on YouTube. So participants won't be joining the Zoom call. They will be listening to the panel online via YouTube.
Hi, Valerie.
Valerie, you're muted.
Sorry, I said hi. How are you, dear?
Hi. I'm unable to turn on the video.
Yeah, you are. I cannot see you, but I can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not functioning.
Hello, good evening. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is Kashif from Karachi. Hi, Valerie.
Hi, how are you? Kaise aap?
I'm good. I'm good. Good to see you. Good to see you, everyone.
Same.
We should start with our discussion. Hello, everyone. I am Rimsha Asif. I am the Advocacy Officer at Justice Project Pakistan. Justice Project Pakistan is a legal-based NGO. We work for the rights of the most vulnerable Pakistani prisoners at home and abroad. And when we talk about vulnerability, am I audible now? Okay, so when we talk about vulnerable prisoners, one of the most vulnerable segment of society is definitely children, people under the age of 18, because our law does not recognize them as adults, people who are able to give consent. So when they come in conflict with the law, it's very important that human rights defenders, lawyers, and civil society in general work to defend them. And we see that Pakistan has ratified the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of the Child. Pakistan ratified the convention in 1990, and Pakistan is moving towards their review by the United Nations Convention on the Rights Committee in an hour. So this panel is really important because we are going to talk about why it matters to to look into these reviews, why it matters to talk about it, and why it matters to engage with this. Because um, we don't recognize this, but these reviews are basically one of the very few forms of accountability that we have, which we can used to hold our state accountable when it comes to defending the rights of the most vulnerable people of our society. We would talk about this more. We would talk about the context of all of this more, what are basically the laws in Pakistan, who protect children's rights, why we need to coordinate, why we need to know about them, why we need to engage with them. But before that, I would like to introduce our panelists for today. We have four really talented, we have four speakers. First of all, we have Miss Valerie Khan. If you work or engage with children's rights in Pakistan, you already know her. She is a child and gender rights expert. She is also a consultant with the UNICEF. And then we have Mr. Syed Miqdad Mehdi. He's a lawyer, he's a juvenile justice specialist, and a child protection expert. Then we have Mr. Shahid Rehmat. He is the member of Provincial Coordination Committee on Interfaith Harmony and Minority Inclusion, and he's also a minority and children's rights advocate. Then we have Mr. Kashif Mirza. He's a researcher and a child protection and child rights advocate. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today in this very important discussion. Um, I would want to take our discussion along, and my first question would be to Ms. Valerie. Because you've been in this sphere for such a long time, you've been engaging with children's rights for this longest time, and you've also been engaging with these international treaty bodies, and review mechanisms. So I would want to ask you that for many people, for even in the legal space, even in lawyers, there's a very small section of our legal fraternity who engages with international law. Even when I was about to, before joining law school, I was really intrigued by international law. I was really interested in the subject. But after joining the law school, I was also told that this is a non-binding instrument. This does not apply in courts. So not as much importance was given to international law. So this is a very unfamiliar space for people. So I want to ask you that could you explain how the CRC review or any other treaty body review mechanism actually works, the whole process, how the states respond to this, how they participate in this, and what comes out of it, and why is it important for us to engage with it? Just a summary for people who have never understood this before, for them to have an idea of what it is.
Yeah, okay. So, so first of all, we're going to focus on the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, because this is the current treaty, which is the topic of the constructive dialogue between Pakistan, the Pakistani state delegation, and the Committee on the Rights of the Child in Geneva. And it is a legally binding treaty. So it's, to put it simply, Pakistan has made a promise and it is legally bound to fulfill that promise related to promoting and enforcing and upholding the fundamental, inalienable, and fundamental and indivisible rights of children. But in terms of when you do ratify, when a state ratified the legally binding human rights instruments, such as the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, there is a cycle, and I think for the UN CRC, if I'm not mistaken, it's every 4 years. They have to submit a state party report. So they do submit state party report to the committee, to the UN, to the Child Rights Committee. And then after the state has done that, then the NGOs can submit also alternative reports to that very same committee. And before the state actually is called by the treaty body committee, the Committee on the Rights of the Child, to have that constructive dialogue, there are a few phases in between. And one of those is what you call the pre-sessional working group, which is going to consider whatever alternative reports they have received. It can be from NGOs or it can be from national human rights institution. And then based on the state report, as well as the report submitted by the NGOs and the national human rights institutions, they are, you can say, extracting a list of issues, this committee, and they sent this list of issues to the government. And then the government will reply to this committee to address the issues, the concern that this committee has expressed. After that, the plenary session, which is currently going to start today and tomorrow, is going to take place where there is a constructive dialogue, a very civil exchange between the Pakistani state delegation, the state party, basically, to the Convention on, United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, and the treaty body committee. And after that, you can say dialogue where the state party is really going to explain what it has done to uphold and to fulfill the commitment under the UN CRC, a list of, you can say, concluding observation, which are more like recommendation, are going to be issued by the treaty body committee until the next reporting cycle. But what is important to understand is that this Convention on the Rights of the Child treaty body review process is first and foremost a mechanism for accountability, but also for continuous improvement. And it's based, again, on a constructive and engaging dialogue rather than sanctions. It's not a punitive approach. It's really a civil and engaging approach. And the whole point is that in practice, it's really about having an exchange between the concerns, the issues, and then asking the states, first of all, what is their position, but most importantly, and more importantly, what they have done at a structural, institutional, and sociocultural level to address those issues. And that means also that the overall, it culminates into the concluding observation, which will identify overall the progress, priority concerns, and formulate concrete and operational recommendation. So it's not about pointing fingers, but rather guiding the states towards sustainable structural reform by strengthening, I would say, a national system that effectively protects, promotes, and enforces the fundamental rights of children.
Thank you so much, Valerie. That really puts things into perspective and sums it up, that this is not a vague process. This is not meaningless. This has a lot of importance, and it is really important that people, general people who are in the legal fraternity, everyone, they keep an eye out for this. They also participate in it, so it's generally more effective and the impact is increased. So I would also want to move towards Miqdad. Miqdad, now that we've talked about the international review process and how the international law is actively binding, I would want to ask you about that Pakistani government in Pakistan over the past year or so or more time has introduced a lot of amendments and several child rights related laws and policies. From your perspective, what have been the most significant legal developments? And also, there are key challenges that you face in your everyday work and generally that undermine the effectiveness of these implementations?
Thank you so much, Rimsha. It's a very good question. Like, since the last review was, I think, happened in 2016, we have observed there are a lot of change in the legal system. We introduced many laws related to child protection, about right to survival, right to participation. We saw there was a change within our legislative framework. For example, after the 2016, we introduced legal, it was a pressure from public as well. It was like a response of the review that we made some changes in our criminal law, like 2016 amendments related to child abuse. It was the first time that we were introducing what is the child abuse in Pakistan Penal Code. Before that, there was nothing. in 2016, and then we introduced Juvenile Justice System Act, the Enabler Responsible Recovery Act, National Commission on the Rights of Children Act. There are a lot of things which are happened at the national level as well as at the provincial level as well. The legislative framework was changed. Child protection policies were introduced recently. During this last year in 2025, we criminalized child marriages in our two other jurisdictions, like in ICT and Balochistan. We came up with very good laws. So there are like very good initiatives by the state and by the government of Pakistan before this review that is going to happen, I think, today. So there are a lot of positive developments in terms of child protection, welfare, and the child rights. We introduced a very good law of Juvenile Justice System Act, which included diversion, probation system, rehabilitation system. These were a very good legislative piece that came up as a state member of UN. But regarding the challenges, there were a lot of challenges. There are still huge challenges regarding the weak enforcement, poor coordination among the departments, especially after the devolution. After the 18th Amendment, there were some problems within the state. Provinces have something to do, and few things are at the federal level. When the law comes from the federal level, how it is to be enforced, there are challenges, still challenges that we are facing in terms of the implementation of Juvenile Justice System Act. Then there was an issue of the limited resources and trained personnel. We have been working with the stakeholders, judicial stakeholders, over law enforcement agencies, our social welfare officers and probation department. We have been working, and we saw there are very lesser opportunities of trainings and the capacity buildings within the departments and within the government system. They are coming for the trainings, but on the children issues, they had no opportunity to learn or had no opportunity to seek the right training to deal with the children within their given roles. So those were the issues, and even different laws. For example, our Geneva Responsible Recovery Act was passed in, I think it's now more than 6 years, and still that needs implementation. Juvenile Justice System Act still it's a big challenge for the provincial governments to implement fully according to the spirit of the law. So there are more challenges were related to the weak enforcement, poor coordination, and limited resources. That's why, and maybe it was the reason of the priority that state was not taking it as a matter of priority. Other issues were on the list as a matter of priority, but the child protection was. There were changes, there were positive steps, but still we are seeing the implementation is a big challenge on the other hand.
Yes, exactly. So even though we see that a lot of work is being done, but the ground realities are there. There are implementation challenges. But I think from what you've said, it is also very evident that these reviews, these international treaty body mechanisms, these processes also work as a catalyst, and they enhance the what our government is working on. And a lot of the work gets done during when the review is about to happen. And I think for us, this is just an opportunity. We can take it, we can always look at the silver lining, and it helps our state, it helps our people. So it's definitely helpful. I'm really sorry if there's background noise. There's just work getting done. So my next question would be to Shahid. Shahid, we see that most of your work is for minority rights. And when we talk about children, and specifically children in prisons, children in conflict with the law, the most marginalized community would be someone from a minority, from a religious minority. So do you think there are any practical steps that have been taken or that are being taken by our governments to ensure that children's rights, particularly the most marginalized children, they remain visible, and any work that has been done for them by our government, and specifically for children who are in conflict with the law, children who are in jails. What is your perspective on this, the work that you have done on this?
So thank you very much, Rimsha. It's wonderful to be here with the expert. So I'm not the legal expert, but the as a civil society activist and practicing and heading the one of the biggest youth resilient movement from last 15 years, based on my experience, I think uh, in the commitment and the implementation, the gaps are really, really visible. And when you work on the ground, you can clearly see that there is a discriminations, like there is a violations and the lack of protection happening for all the children, despite they are from majority or minority. But when you see the example of the minority, the situation is worse. So let me like if I say there a huge gap in the protection. If I give you the example of the, like, because we are working clearly with the religious marginalized minority, so we can see the children of the sanitary workers, their kids are working in the houses, and their kids are working on the shops, in the hotels, the restaurants, and the wholesale market, but they never inspect by uh, like the labor department and any government body, like how the things are going, and they like it's become a normalize. If we consider, like, we are working with the communities in the downtown, and we are working with the elitist universities in Pakistan also, so we have a very diverse experience. So still, children are working in the houses, and it's become a normalized for the community, and the people now consider like it's a child labor. And because there is a very weak protection system from the government, and nobody taking this ownership to make people accountable for this, what they are doing. And let's give you another example, like the minor girls, the forced conversion. If you see that, we have seen like there is a lack of accountability, but there is a lack of ownership, and the biggest is the coordination. Like, we have witnessed several cases which we try to report it, and when we go to the police, they saying this in, okay, they take the case, but they send us to another department, the protection center, and they send it to the other. So there is a huge coordination gap between the courts, police, and the protection mechanism already available in the community. So I think the one Pakistan is luckily is one of the country where we have, like, we have you cannot count so many policies. But when we talk about the implementation, that's the already my friend before me, he was saying, when we talk about the implementation, I think that's the challenging. And being a community activist and working on the grassroots, like, we are always focusing that how we can make department accountable, because we are clearly working on a one side in the community, and on the other side with the Punjab Assembly also, and the different provincial assemblies, and even in the federation also. So if there is any policy pass, so we try to just make the relevant department accountable, that you have to fulfill. So you have to work on that. So I think there is the strong follow-up needed to track all these implementation, despite there is a lot of commitments. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shahid. You're definitely right when you say that there's need for a lot of coordination between all these authorities. Even the resources that are present, there's a possibility that often these resources are not being utilized to their fullest. And that can happen when there's a better coordination between all these departments. So moving towards Kashif, Kashif, I would want to mention one of your recent works. Recently, you wrote an article highlighting gaps in the Juvenile Justice System Act and how the CRC is about the CRC review and the whole process. I want you to talk about, can you please, like, if you can highlight how Pakistan's child rights commitments fail at the implementation stage, and if there are any gaps which, when we apply Juvenile Justice System Act to Pakistan, are there any gaps which are highlighted during the actual practice of that law? And how do you think the CRC review mechanism and public's engagement with the whole mechanism can uh, pressurize and can help move the government forward and can help them or pressurize them basically into working more and working in a better way?
Thank you very much, Rimsha, and thank you very much to JPP to taking me on board with my distinguished colleagues Valerie, Miqdad, and Shahid. Uh, Thank you very much for giving the reference of my article. The it's not a one string solution or the problem which we can talk about. It's a very complex kind of a situation which we are dealing specifically to the child rights. In last 35 years, so many children were born and they are now 35. What difference we have made after making a commitment with UNCRC. So I think it's a very serious time to all of us, being an expert, being a civil society activist, being a citizen, being a government representative, to be work collectively rather than work in a competition. We have to work in coordination. We have some government-owned data that 26.2 million children they are out of schools. This is it's the entire Australian population. Every single day when we get up, 26.2 million people, they are not going to school. So see, the entire Australia is not going to school. And they are adding every single day. When we talk about specific to the UN Juvenile Justice System Act, it's a masterpiece, I must say. It's excellent on paper. It's very well drafted, very extremely well articulated. But what are the meant its draft for? It's not been fulfilled. It should be. The situation is that there were two juvenile courts were nominated by the Sen Chief Justice in 2021, and even they are paralyzed. The entire system is paralyzed. Yesterday, I was with some Union Council chairman, and we were talking on some child rights issues, especially the open main halls issues. We're seeing every single day that accidents are happening. We even don't know about what is UNCRC, what is Juvenile Justice System Act. It's a basic understanding problem which we are dealing, and this is reality. Well, what I think to overcome this challenge, the Juvenile Justice Committee should be formed and they should be nominated. It does not require a huge fund. It does not require a huge kind of advocacy on it. Government or Interior Ministry just need to be notified the committees and to take away children from the jails and to give them a 100% opportunity to become a proper citizen and the good citizen of this country. I think the capacity of the itself of government is very weak, and they have no interest. And children are not their own priority because maybe they don't have votes. We, the civil society, has contributed a lot, but at the same time, the civil society also become a competitor of each other's, which is they are not supposed to be, which is also a reality which we have to accept it. We must work in a coordination rather than a competition. And this also falls one of the failure side. and we should have to accept our failures. We can make mistakes, but again, there is always a hope. This is not the first time the UNCRC is being reviewed, and for sure, not the last time. But every single time we are not achieving the targets, it's a collective failure. So I strongly urge that the civil society may have to be more proactive rather than just to be a reactive. There is no doubt such compliance and such laws, international laws, are so important to fulfill. But children belongs to us. The country belongs to us. We should be more responsible and more sensitized and more effectively can contribute to give a country to the children where they can feel safe and enjoy and educated. Thank you. I can be added more if I can get up for the chance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kashif. Definitely, civil society also needs to work in coordination, specifically before all these reviews, when there is a chance for civil society to have active input in state accountability, when the committee asks for submission when the list of issues are released. Unfortunately, from Pakistan, oftentimes this is the case that there are very few submissions from civil society itself, which is actually being reviewed by the committee. They look into it and they give a lot of attention to what civil society has to say. So I think the more the people engage with the system, the more the people engage with what's already there, the systems in place, it can really help bring state accountability into the process. So my next question would be to Valerie. As the discussion is proceeding, we've seen that there are a lot of issues, there are a lot of implementation gaps. Our panelists have just highlighted. What do you think that this year during the CRC, which one of these issues would be the committee would be focusing on? And also, how do these concerns mirror the everyday child rights challenges already visible on ground? Why is this connection very important for public understanding of the review process? That the challenges, the problems that the committee is going to review, the issues that are being raised are also the same issues that we face every single day. So people actively engage with the process.
Okay, so I think what we need to understand is that because it's streamlined, the constructive dialogue is a public event, right? So anybody can connect. I mean, anybody digitalized and connectable can connect to watch and be part of this dialogue. So I think it has two functions, really. It certainly, and I want to be balanced over here because, again, the approach is not punitive. And I think there is also an element which is a critical one, which is sharing of information. There is a lot of, there is a lack of awareness as well on every side, really. And I think it's the occasion to clarify further questions, potential concerns or misunderstanding, so that's, in that sense, it's a positive element. Also, it brings international scrutiny to state actions, which is really important. In the context of Pakistan, for example, those legally binding human rights instruments, I really insist, legally binding human rights instruments, despite what whoever has said differently otherwise, have a direct impact for the monitoring of the GSP Plus mechanism. Pakistan is a candidate to the renewal of its GSP Plus status, and the level, the extent to which Pakistan is enforcing its international human rights obligation is going to be a determining factor into the EU deciding to renew this GSP Plus mechanism for Pakistan or not. You have other international mechanisms. It does involve the level of collaboration of the IMF with Pakistan as well, for example. Okay, it does involve, it is a source of information for how the classification of Pakistan is going to be considered for the trafficking in persons reports and many other aspects. So what I mean to say is that this is an option and an occasion for Pakistan to, I would say, to set the record straight on one hand, all right, because many times things are being done. For example, I've heard that the juvenile justice committees are not being notified. Most of them, many of them have been notified. The problem is not so much the notification, but the lack of operationalization of those juvenile justice committees. So that's, we are like one step ahead within the process of enforcing. We have had excellent pilot example of implementing the Juvenile Justice System Act in some exclusive pilot juvenile court that had been piloted in the real spirit of the Juvenile Justice System Act, for example, and some pilot experiences of diversion. However, these local successful pilot examples have not been capitalized and upscaled, and many of them have been set aside. Okay, so that's a problem, and that's what the Pakistani state needs to realize. To be fair, very recently, a national coordination committee has been established under the Federal Ministry of Law and Justice. And that's the whole point of this committee. They are trying to really work on an enforcement of the JGSA. Better late than never, but still late. Do you get my point? And these are really low-hanging fruit. Similarly, every time, for a very long time, Pakistan has been asked, not only by the committee, but also by the apex courts, such as the Lahore High Court, for example, to align and harmonize the minimum marriageable age for both genders, boys and girls, to 18. And for example, if you take the example of Punjab, you even have an order from the Lahore High Court that has been certainly done this year in 2025 in Islamabad and in Balochistan, and this is really encouraging, but Punjab has still not done it. We have yet to understand why. So what I mean to say is that the progress, such as the efforts to pilot or the launch of a Justice for Children program by the Federal Judicial Academy with the collaboration of the Supreme Court of Pakistan in December 2024, is certainly going to be, I would say, showcased by the government, and rightly so. But then the question of, why are you not upholding the exclusive jurisdiction instead of trying to bypass that exclusive process through blanket notification that do not serve the purpose at all of addressing justice for children, providing justice without any discrimination with a child-centric manner, with keeping in mind the best interest of the child. All those elements are going to be there. And when you look at the list of issues, basically, you look at the problem with the lack of adequate legislation related to child marriage, the lack of, and the fact that 18 needs to be the minimum marriageable age for boys and girls for every child in Pakistan. Secondly, the fact that the JGSA is not being enforced, the fact that the child protection systems and especially alternative care are not being, the laws basically are not sufficiently aligned with the international standards, the child protection laws at provincial level, in order to allow a multi-sectoral, child-centric, family-based child protection system, and where alternative care really focuses on deinstitutionalizing children, trying to support family as much as possible to avoid separating children in their best interest from families only on the sake of poverty. Poverty is not a crime. And really trying to focus on family-based alternative care with gatekeeping principles and an adequate child protection system. There is a lot which is pending. There are a lot of drafts that are pending that needs to be further aligned with international standards, that needs to be notified and resource allocated for these things to be implemented. So I would say justice for children, JGSA, child marriage, commercial and sexual exploitation of children, the real problem of lack of prosecution and the very recent extremely regressive jurisprudence from the courts, the committee is definitely going to point that out. And it's actually it might be difficult for the government of Pakistan in that sense, because on one hand, they are trying to make, for example, to enact legislation such as the anti-rape legislation, which is really trying to provide a victim-centric law. And then on the other hand, the judiciary at the highest level in the Supreme Court of Pakistan is coming up with abhorrent, extremely ill-informed decisions that are basically turning rape cases into fornication cases. And you know, the three pillars, the state basically is responsible for enforcing the UNCRC. So it's not only the government here, the executive, as much as the legislative and the judiciary, is responsible to do so. And the three of them will be held accountable accordingly. That is also going to have an impact on your rule of law index, on your gender parity index, on all of this. So I would say, I think on one hand, it's an extremely interesting exercise because it holds the state accountable. It allows clarification on both sides of the story, but it certainly informs the way forward. And for Pakistan at that stage, I would say taking into consideration that way forward and immediately acting upon what I usually call the child rights low-hanging fruit is certainly going to have to be a priority if the country wants to secure its GSP plus renewal. Otherwise, it's not going to, I think it's going to be difficult. It might be a serious challenge, etc., etc.
Thank you, Valerie. So that really shows that this is a deciding moment. And thank you so much for bringing up GSP, because GSP Plus is definitely one of the most important mechanisms that we have currently in Pakistan for every single person in this country, because it directly impacts our lives. And a lot of the human rights work is also directly or indirectly dependent on the GSP. So on that note, as you said that this is going to be live, people can see it in their homes, anyone who's interested, and everyone should be interested because this is our lives. I just want to let everyone know, people who are watching this webinar live, that JPP is doing the live screening of the CRC review in Islamabad tomorrow at 1 p.m. in the ILO auditorium. And you can reach out to JPP if you want to come in, if you want to join. Or you can, the links would also be provided on JPP's social media if anybody wants to watch the review. Right after this webinar ends at 7 p.m., this is the first day of the review will start. And moving forward with our discussion, I would want to ask Miqdad a little more about the actual impact, because a lot of the times this is the understanding that these international law reviews and international law is like far from reality. It doesn't really do anything. But has there been cases where you have seen these reviews actively impacting real life cases? This CRC or ICCPR or any other treaty body mechanisms actively impacting those cases, and there having been any examples in your work, if you ever come across any of that?
Yeah, Rimsha, it's obviously impact-oriented process, and it's very much evident that now it's like in our course, as Valerie also mentioned, CRC standards are increasingly cited in the not only in the arguments but also in the judgments. They are being referred as a minimum standards. The concluding observations are being used for advocacy purposes. Journal comments are cited in the judgments, and as well as our recommendations from the special procedures are also being quoted by the superior courts in the judgments. So we practically saw when we did our public interest litigation for children with disability, and we observed that the court was more interested as a matter of obligation, state obligation. And the court was suggesting the government to adopt something which is promised under the UNCRC, under the Convention for the Persons with Disability, CRPD, on the rights of persons with disability. So there is an increased impact, not only from the international law, but also from the this review process. And personally, we used these recommendations for the change of legal system. For example, there was a problem of age determination was a big challenge. So we have been debating with the parliamentarians. I was the part of the JPP at that time, and we were going to the legislators and we were talking about this is the recommendation. We have to harmonize the age determination protocols. We have to come up with the Juvenile Justice System Act with the more practical protocols of age determination, and we have to harmonize our legal system when we talk about the age of child. We can say there is an impact that we saw everywhere. It was maybe the shift, the discourse from punishment to rehabilitation, or reforms regarding the judicial trainings or law enforcement agencies trainings, or anything else related to the juveniles, about the unlawful detention, to any death sentences or cruel or inhuman treatment within the custody. It was a guiding document, and we use it on the routine basis, and it created the impact to save and to provide the protection to the children within Pakistan.
Thank you so much, Miqdad. So now that we have only left with 15 minutes, I want to move towards, I want to talk a bit more about the concluding observations that come out of the review, after the review, because they are really important. Because up until the next review cycle, those are going to be kind of like guiding principles for how the child rights space is going to be shaped. So I wanted to ask Shahid, because you work with a lot of young people and also your experience of being on the committee, provincial committee as well. How do you think that the concluding observations are usually worked into? How do you think those are implemented by the government itself or by the state? And also, how do you think that after this review, the concluding observations, what is your general idea of how are they going to be like, or given the Pakistan's governance system, how do you think that those recommendations will clarify responsibilities and the implementation of both the provincial and federal authorities?
So, Rimsha, thank you very much. I just connect where I live. So based on our experience, like when we are working with the provincial level, so the most of the implementing institutions are based in the province, but the 90% reporting system is with the federal. So, and there is a lack of data sharing, like it's existing also. We are empowering young people, even we are working with the political inclusion, and we are training them for right to information, RTI. And even though they're using that mechanism, but they were unable to get the data from the government department. And sometimes we have to go and talk with their higher officials, and sometimes we have to do the local pressure. We have to create some pressure so they can easily share the data. So unless the provincial level institutions are not ready to share data with the federation or the federal institutions, so I think the child violations and the lack of protection, the gaps are invisible in the policy level, because the federation is making the policies. So if they don't have the proper reporting system, or if they don't have any relevant data, so I think it's a really challenging to make new policies. And then I think there should be disaggregated data sharing channel, and the Strandra is the national level reporting system also, so which we face, like it's really missing. And then if I like, the lot of things are all the Valerie and Miqdad already said, but I think there is this disparity which I already explained you. Like, even though there is if you consider a whole country, this issue. But if we go the province to province level, there is still the disparity and taking up the issues in the federation, like in the federal level, they are very proactive to taking issues from like if say Punjab, the biggest province and the biggest populated province of Pakistan, but they are maybe they are less effective to taking from other provinces. So the disparity on the reporting and the taking issues from the province level, and when it's come to the minority, like the things are more slow. So they wanted to take an issue and to report it, and but when you go and you can clearly see that in the implementation level, the disparity considering the province and considering the cities also, the Lahore issues, like quickly media take it. But if you go in the other side, the village, if you report something, so I think there is not a standardized the reporting system, but the effective mechanism to take action on the issues coming from the different geographical location is also struggling. And I think that there is many things. One thing I would like to mention, like, so the CRC, the implementation, if we just only the talk in the Islamabad or in the federal level, and it's not go to the district level, or even though their reflection not go to the UC level, I think the violation cannot be stopped, like, because the most of the violations are happening in the community, but the recommendation, the policies, and everything is so there is the gap there that need to be bridged by this proper channels, and how the issues are communicated to the different institutions who are based on the higher level. So I think that's not need more resources. There's so many, the government institutions are saying that we don't have budget, we don't have access, but I think the more than the resources, there need shared accountability and ownership, and um, then the political will is also needed to take all these issues and to ensure the implementation. Thank you.
Definitely. And thank you so much for bringing up statistical data. Definitely, the dissemination of actual and correct data is really important, because that's one of the things that we come across a lot in our field of work, that there is not correct data isn't available, because all of our policies that the government makes can really be enhanced just by utilizing the data that we have. So for my last question, I would want to move to Kashif. Um, what do you think that in the concluding observations, because with your very vast experience of working in civil society, how do you think that the civil society can continue the momentum with the concluding observations and just does not let the government, the state, forget it? And how do we make sure that these concluding observations actually become a part of the national policy?
Right. Again, thank you. The budget allocation is one of the challenge, but somehow it has been relieved. That budget has always been allocated from the provincial assemblies, but the execution and the consumption of that specific budget in best interest of child is remaining a very question. I talk about this specific to Sindh. There is only 2% of the budget which have been allocated has been consumed since from last 6 months. So the situation is the sincerity and the ownership from the state level it's a really questionable thing. Again, what I think we need child-sensitive budgeting and child-sensitive programming at 360 degree, and this is the only solution. Uh, there have been so many government representatives. They have been engaged with with civil society. We have built their capacity, but with some time they have been deported to some other department, or they go to some other institution to do something else, so that the money goes waste. Uh, Again, I'm doing another research which will be revealed very soon. In Sindh, every single child cost around 16,500 rupees to the government schools. Imagine if every single month 16,500 rupees government is investing on papers, again on papers, to every single child living in Sindh. What is the outcome? This is calculations comes from the budgetary allocation, not the execution and the implementation. So again, the paperwork and the data on paper is very different, but the execution and implementation and the outcome is very different. It's a huge difference. It's look like we are talking about here two different subjects, not only one thing. So again, child sensitive budgeting is very important, and all the concluding observations is that whatever you talk about the international commitments or the compliance, that would be only possible when the domestic policies, when the regional policies, when your local authorities, your local departments can work effectively. Then you will have some face to go confidently to some conventions and to talk to them, and government must reach out to the civil society. And this barricade should have to be resolved. We are not against the government. We are not against any institution working on the welfare of the children. We have learned something with our past, and we are ready to render our services as civil society with the government, with the provincial departments to upbring their capacity in the best interest of the child. So I think uh, CRM was one of the good example earlier. Then it goes some politicized. I don't know why, but again, what I think such coordination committees from national level to the district level is so important, and I think this is the only way out. And I'm telling you, Rimshai and my all other colleagues, they know far better than me. Then, if not in every union council, but in every tehsil or talka, there is a child right expert. There is an expert over there in Pakistan. I'm telling you. And government can take them on board. Assistant commissioner or deputy commissioner should have to be give some respect to those talented people, those have learned something. And you know the why the committees goes fail and why we are not able to report so effectively, because deputy commissioner is the chairholder of hundreds of the committees, and there is only 365 days, and there are so many weekends as well. So until and unless the DC is not available to the district vigilance committee, he cannot proceed the meetings. So I think things go devolve. Uh, um, Child mechanism system at the schools is not being implemented. Why? Because it's not that we do not want. It's not that parents do not want. It's always a government's responsibility. They are drafting the bill. They are the responsible to implement such things. We are there to support. Again, I think from this webinar, on behalf of all my colleagues and from JGP and from the other organization, we again give a commitment to the government that we are ready to provide all the best our services in the best interest of child. But I think you should have to be wake up and come out from your closed doors and open doors for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Really great insights, and the webinar really laid out the importance of engaging with these international mechanisms. And also, as Kashif just said, that the civil society works with the government rather than working against the government. And that's what we also see. And I think from now we can only move up because people are getting more and more aware of these mechanisms. They are engaging with it more and more. Um, I would really thank you all again. And I think we are at the end of our discussion. Before going away, I would really want all of you to just give like one-liner concluding remark, whatever you want to say about the child rights space in Pakistan, about the CRC, about engaging with the international treaties. Valerie, please, if you have something to say.
Well, I think we need to take that as an opportunity. So I hope that this constructive dialogue is going to basically provide some, direction, maybe more concrete, even intangible direction, which in my view are going to be, very close to what many child protection experts have already requested and advised and supported the government in doing. There are many, many pending low-hanging fruits as far as children's rights, are concerned in the country. And I agree with my colleagues, not only at a national level, but at a district level as well. We really need to gather and gear our energy and synergies to do that. Children deserve it, and we promised it to them.
Thank you. Miqdad, would you want to say anything?
Yeah, I will endorse the Valerie's point of view, and will only add that during the last 10 years, we have come up with very strong laws, a legal mechanism, but without implementation, training, and accountability. The children may will experience the justice as punishment, but not as a matter of protection. So obviously, this is a big opportunity for Pakistan to bring the good name as a state by coming up with more child-friendly and child right-based interventions.
Thank you so much. Shahid, anything from your side? Shahid, you're muted if you're trying to say.
So I think there is a fashion in Pakistan, so that everybody, when the new government come, or there's some institutions and there's some organization, even the civil society, they always want to do something new. But I think it's rather than we have to take some good initiative, which are already done, and just need a little bit follow up to have a more, like the Valerie said, that the low hanging fruit. So they've, I think, rather than inventing new wheel all the time, we have to take some good initiative and to do the follow up, strong follow up, and then I think we can identify more gaps. And it's not meaning that everything is bad happening in this country. Like, a lot of good things are happening, and we have to just appreciate that and just try to find the gap, and then have to raise our voices for that. That's it.
Definitely. Kashif, anything from your side?
Yeah, just two liners. I agree with my all three distinguished colleagues. They were absolutely right. I think the child sensitive budgeting and child rights auditing, not as advocating. It's enough being advocating for so long, uh, and it's time to be auditing ourselves, government side, parenting side, community sides, everywhere. This is my humble submission. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I think what everyone is taking away from this webinar is that a lot of coordination, a lot of implementation of what's already present is really needed, and a lot of auditing is also required. So I'm really grateful for all of you for dedicating this time, this very important time from all of your lives for this 1 hour of this webinar. I hope that we stay connected, that this momentum continues. And I hope that everyone who is watching and everyone who is engaging also engages with the review as much as they did with this webinar. Thank you so much, everyone. And we should end here.
Thank you very much to entire your JPP team. They have done a wonderful coordination to is Aisha and the Haris, the other people. Regards to everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.